Hello, welcome to Self Meditation for Emotional Wellness. At least today, that's what it is. You know, I'll be changing this thing up every time I get a chance. Today, it felt aligned for me to show up here, bring my face into the camera, and just do something different. This is a thing that I needed. So I'm extending this offering to you wherever you are. If you're driving, you can just listen to this. If you are doing something at home, maybe if you feel compelled to, you can just take a pause and really be able to receive the message that I was able to give to you. So before settling in or whatever it is that you're going to do, um, I want to just preface this with that I am experiencing some grief and I'm not identifying with it. I just know that I recognize that it makes its way into my space periodically, and I have to allow for that grief to do what it needs to do. So if you find that I might, just kind of lose my train of thought a little bit, that's probably one of the reasons why. But today, I stumbled across something on social media. This lady asked AI, how does God create? And the response, it was about a 6 minute long response, but the gist of it is that we've been conditioned to create resistances and circumstances that come in the way of our ability to create. Some of us think that a barrier to creation or creativity is lack of finances, lack of opportunities, or no connections, no energy, right? And we'll make a lot of different excuses or we'll have legitimate reasons, but the reality is God don't create like that. And I've been looking at identification lately, for myself especially, looking at my identifications with relationships, partners, sex, sexuality, non-monogamy or monogamy, family, career, purpose, passion, yoga, podcasting. And it's gotten to a place where I think that I've established my core identity as I can get to that point. But what I want to do here is just create a meditation that I wish I had. Today, I did a couple of things for myself that were different than how I would normally have done them. And one of those things was, especially after listening to that video, the core of what she said was that God creates by deciding and allowing. God creates by deciding and allowing. And that was a very powerful message for me, especially now, because all of the resistances that I've created come from not allowing, but trying and attempting and effort and chasing and pursuit and really just attempting to force things to happen that perhaps don't need to happen or that would happen in their own time if the circumstances allow for them to. And also allowing for things not to happen, allowing for them to happen the way that they are going to or the way that they are happening, right? So today, I'm just going to offer a meditation for the emotional wellness of anybody who maybe feels stuck, because that's where I think I was prior to this realization. So if you've been driving and you are able to pull over and just make the space for you to really be able to be present with this message as it comes in, I invite you to do that. Whatever you're doing, if you're at home, if you're maybe listening to this while you're doing some homework or working out, I encourage you to maybe just walk on the treadmill or walk on the Stairmaster, something where you're able to really be present with the message. Decide and allow. So much of our identities are very much interconnected with things outside ourselves. I like to think about these energetic threads that extend from our bodies into just a ball of whatever it is that we have to give our attention to, our awareness to, or our presence to, even when our physical bodies are not focused on or occupying that thing. If you're at work right now, you may be physically at work, but your attention, one of those threads, is actually on what needs to be done at home. Maybe it's on the fact that, oh, there's still dishes in the sink. Oh, I have to prepare dinner. Maybe instead of preparing dinner, I'm going to go and grab something or I'll order something, but I don't have the money to keep eating out, or I'm working on budgeting. Maybe your attention is on your relationship, ensuring that your partner's needs are met and that your partner's happy and that they're satisfied, but they're not with you. Maybe they're at work. And so you can do this as many times as you need to in order to see the picture of how our presence and awareness is just divvied out into the rest of the world. Think about our passions, our sense of purpose, our obligations to family members, friends, co-workers, peers. And each of these individually has an energetic thread. And it's no wonder that we find it so difficult to be present. And with the challenges that come along with being present, on top of that, we also have lost, or we are losing the practice of being present. So, how do we become more present? I think that the starting point is recognizing where we are, not just our physical body, but where are our thoughts? Where are the emotions within us? Are we in the emotions? How are we breathing? What masks are we wearing with the different spaces that we occupy? Because even that's draining. Having to put the white man voice on at work, or having to put on the professional outfit when you like wearing sweatpants or a robe. Our identities are segmented, they're scattered in all these different directions. And we have to maintain a level of connectedness to that. And being present really isn't about shutting those things off so that we can be here. It's about acknowledging and recognizing that our attention, awareness, presence has all these different directions that it has to be in when it has to be there. Eckhart Tolle says that the mind is oftentimes occupied by the future or the past. It's past memories or future imagined experiences that keep us out of the present moment. And so, wherever our awareness and attention is, that's what we're present with. Presence is always happening. It's just, is your presence fully with what you're engaged with? And where this connects in regards to decide and allow, it's a matter of choosing where you place your presence. I look at myself as an example of having moved back home to St. Louis, Missouri, after having been so resistant to it. I moved to Houston, Texas, and then I had to move back to St. Louis. I moved to Portland, Oregon, and then I had to move back to St. Louis. I moved back to Portland, Oregon, and instead of moving back to St. Louis, I made the decision to move across the country to be closer to New York, went to New Jersey, and even that brought me back to St. Louis. What I decided was to focus on expanding and building my career. What I allowed was not for that to happen because I created the resistances of being home, being around family, my support system, the being in an atmosphere and a setting where I can thrive and do so with ease and do so in a way that more so aligns. In going against what was allowed, I created new kinds of suffering for myself. And regardless of how we get to the decision, the choice, we gonna get there. But it's our resistances that get in the way of it. So who's to say that had I not been in St. Louis the entire time, making the decision to experience success and fulfillment through my purpose, and then allow for what that process looks like to just occur and for me to just respond to what's organically happening. In the process of deciding and allowing, intentionality is extremely important. What is it that we're choosing? What are we deciding on? When we make that decision, we're going to be presented with opportunities that are going to pull us away from the decision, almost like an are you sure? And then we're going to be presented with opportunities to support that decision as an are you sure? And the process of allowing really just looks like creating the space to allow for whatever messaging it is that needs to come through. And that messaging is much louder and more clear when we are, in fact, present. So, in a time where we might be surrounded by people who struggle with presence, and we pick up on their challenges of struggling with presence, we have our own challenges with being present. What I invite you to do is just take a breath in, realize where you are, and then just exhale. Ah, this is where I am. I am here is a mantra that I enjoy. And I got this from My Hero Academia, All Might, one of the heroes, main characters of the story. And it says, I am here. And in fact, that's been my mantra. And I've used it in a way that is dishonest. I am here. Yes, my physical body is here. But when we look at the koshas, the five sheets of the self, I is essentially made up of five parts: the physical body, the energy body, the mental, emotional body, the inner wisdom and intellect, and then the joy, bliss, pleasure body. So while my physical body is there, my energy is diverted to all these other things. My thoughts are about everything that's not here. I'm having feelings about things from the past and the future that I'm headed towards. And my intuition, my inner intellect is sending me messages that I'm not receiving. And where I find joy is actually an escape. So it's important to me that I have this practice of presence out into the world. It's a practice that I believe that I need for myself and that I regularly need to exercise when learning to detach from all of these aspects of my identity. When we talk about the inner wisdom and intellect, that's who we are when we take the mask off. And I have to put the mask on in my work life day to day. Podcast Courtney is different than workshop Courtney is different than relationship Courtney is different than casual sex Courtney is different than yoga instructor Courtney is different than herpes stigma Courtney is different than Courtney the brother, the son, the parent, the I don't know parent, the friend. And so there's all these different masks, there's all these threads that are pulling my awareness, my attention, my presence away from me. And my inability or unwillingness to look at each of those individually creates a whole nother thread of energy being taken from me that is the shadow. And it is in that shadow where the less we look at it, the more it grows. So it's not just a string going there, but there's also the string making up this yarn ball, this yarn energetic ball that has been my absence of presence. And the more that perhaps I indulge in any of those other aspects of my identity that I need to occupy, the more that little ball begins to just kind of like twist and adjust. And so it is with this practice that I invite us to be still with and present with our shadow. You can have 20 different strings, yarn balls that are detached from you, and that yarn ball is probably going to equal at least 50% of what all of those make up. And that leaves so little for us as individuals to be present, to have our own presence, to be able to bring our awareness into our bodies, into where our energy is, into our thoughts and emotions, into our self, our collective experiences, and into our pleasure, our joy. So I invite you to, in silence, in stillness, sit with those emotions, the negative ones. Me, for myself, I'm struggling with anger. It's not safe for me to experience anger openly to other people. And my mentor, Antonio, he says, it's like when people make you angry or do something that makes you angry, the only way to really move it is to let them know. And it's not safe sometimes, it feels like. It is an emotion that I fear losing control of. I fear what my anger can do to me. And so I have to be here, I have to sit with this emotion of anger, which is in those shadows, because there's something that is there for me to pull out of that. In the shadows, there are deepest, darkest thoughts and emotions, maybe some that aren't even that dark. And one of the ways that we diminish the heaviness of that shadow is to shine a light to it. And that light is our positive self, our neutral self, our self, being able to bring that into the shadow and allow for ourselves to detangle that yarn ball of energy that is our presence so that we can reclaim that. As we decide and allow, deciding to look at the shadow and allow for it to shrink in size, allowing for the light within us to illuminate what the shadow has casted over, thinking that it wasn't okay. And as you have the thoughts, as you have the feelings, as you think of what energetically we've been tied to outside ourselves, we can be present with that and we can just allow for the power to come back within us. We can allow for ourselves to be able to be present. Whatever emotion you might be experiencing right now, whatever it is that you need to feel, let this be the opportunity for you to do just that. Allow yourself to feel. Somebody said we got to feel with it to heal with it. What do you notice? What do you notice about the yarn thread of energy? Is it shrinking? Are we feeding it shame? Is it growing while we're looking at it? What are some of our thoughts? Decide and allow. This is something that I've already incorporated into my practice. Allowing myself to decide and allow, getting out of the way of what is coming to me. I can't tell you how many additional jobs I've gotten, relationships that I've gotten into, making the decision to allow for my career and purpose to align for success. There is a lot that comes with that. There's the healthy safety as well as freedom that I'm cultivating within myself. And it's something that I don't need to seek outside myself. As I find that I am most identified not with the body, not with the nervous system, not with the mind, the emotions, or that collective of life experiences that have made me this personality or even pleasure. What I find is that I identify with that electrical current that runs through the nervous system, that experiences the mind, that experiences the body, that which is God. And how God creates is by deciding and allowing. And the more I give presence to everything that is taking my attention, taking my awareness, taking my presence, the more I feel like just the awareness alone and making the space for it just allows for us to retrieve our energy that has been directed outward and being held by all of these other things to be present to. Again, work, passion, family, friends, partner. We might imagine what the future holds for us and them. We may have memories in the past about whatever, whoever. But the only way for us to really experience it, the only way for us to really do anything is to claim our misdirected or our preoccupied presence and bring that back to ourselves. Remember, decide and allow. Remove the resistance, remove the obstacles by just not adding them. Let the creation process unfold with your first identification of self as being that electrical current that comes from the power source that is the divine. Decide and allow.